So yeah, so it's a weird thing because ironically enough, I get to talk about the title character of the show. We have Sir Patrick Stewart coming back to this classic character, signature performance of his. But at the same point too, when you're going through and you're picking out the episodes for Jean-Luc Picard, leading up to Picard, it's kind of anticlimactic because there's certain beats you just have to do.
Yeah.
So you can't go to things like Inner Light. You know what I mean? Like there's all these great Picard episodes, but you can't. There's some of them you just can't go to because they're probably not relevant. They say a lot about who the character is, but they're not terribly relevant. Before I go too much further into this, it looks like we've got another comment here, commenting back about lore.
Okay, so again, Ballerina Casey says regarding lore, it makes you think where Beverly, as the Enterprise doctor, would be in this. A lot of people are wondering if Gates McFadden is going to be in Picard. I personally am hoping and thinking that we're going to get at least one more legacy character as a surprise that they haven't, that hasn't been leaked, that they haven't promoted. That I have no inside knowledge. I'm just kind of hoping. Now, Beverly would make a great, she makes total sense to be in Picard because of their special relationship, But what her role would be, I don't know. I don't know if first of all, I don't know if she's going to be in it. But I don't know exactly if she is in it. I don't know what her role exactly would be. Like, would they sort of maybe just explore more of that special relationship between Picard and Beverly? Or would she be more involved with, maybe with this process or whatever, where she's trying to, reverse it for some reason, or, she's, I don't know. It's interesting to speculate on, but we don't know. As far as we know right now, she's not going to be, at least in the first season.
I could tell you for the first 3 episodes, because at least I know that much. But she is not in the first 3 episodes.
So we'll have to see. I mean, she's one that I think a lot of fans want to see in Picard, and it makes a lot of sense, again, because of the special relationship between Beverly and Picard. If you guys remember, All Good Things, it was actually, they actually said that they were married, then they were divorced. You know what I mean? At this point in time, we don't know if that's the case in this timeline or not.
I actually had a theory that, and this is completely wrong. This is not it, but this was my theory. So of course, it's wrong. What I wanted was Picard and her to have had a kid, and that kid be, the important person that we see on the trailer. But unfortunately, that is wrong. And I tried, but Nathan tells me that I am totally and completely and 100% wrong. So,
because there was a lot of people speculating on that. That's Picard's daughter. So
I wanted it.
That's interesting. So that was a little bit of a spoiler there, but hopefully not too bad of one. So
not too bad. She's not in the first 3 episodes, and she's not involved in a way like how we would like her to be involved.
But that doesn't preclude the possibility that Picard and Beverly did have a child. We just don't see them. You know what I mean? Maybe that child is with Beverly, right?
That's a good point. Maybe Wesley has a half sister.
Well, some people, there's a big fan theory that Picard is actually Wesley's dad. You've heard that one?
Yeah. Now, did you know that Will Wheaton is going to be talking about Picard?
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I actually, yes, I am aware of that. He's going to be doing a podcast on Facebook, right? He's going to be doing like an after Picard.
I know I'm going to be listening because I want to hear what he has to say about it. But
it's on Facebook, right?
I don't remember. I'm going to have to look it up.
So that's what I remember seeing, was that he's doing some sort of like Facebook has been kind of doing like their Facebook TV thing. So I think it's kind of tied into that.
Okay.
But that was my understanding. And yeah, so he's going to be doing breakdowns of the episodes, as they air, similar to what Dave and I will be doing every Wednesday for the next 10 weeks.
We'll be on Sundays.
So, well, here's the interest. getting back to that, because it's interesting because Next Gen had such a great send off, with All Good Things. It was a great ending, and part of the reason we're getting Picard is because Nemesis didn't feel like a great way to send Next Gen off. It's not the way people want to kind of remember it. Well, anyhow, getting back to this, because
Hey, Dave, I think we lost the stream for a second, so you're whatever you said may not have gotten out.
Okay, so all I was trying to state is that getting back to the idea of Beverly, it's interesting because All Good Things was that great ending send-off for Next Gen. I know that among the people I talk to that like Star Trek Next Generation, no one has any disparaging comments about All Good Things. I quite love All Good Things. I think it's a great ending, right? And then I know part of the reason that we're getting Picard is because there's a feeling that Nemesis wasn't a great way to leave the Next Gen crew, right? And I feel that way. I
think
too.
Patrick Stewart has actually said that. I think he's actually said that. Yeah.
So anyhow, it's interesting because of the timeline shift. Beverly had such an important role in All Good Things, and then here in this timeline, it looks like if we see her, it'll be much later than we're expecting, or we would like. So that's all my Beverly reaction, thinking about it, is that the important role that she plays, as the captain of the Pasteur and what's going on, versus the fact that as far as it looks like, we know that she's definitely not in the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So back to Picard here. So like I said, it's a mixed bag when you get Picard, because there's certain things you have to do that are terribly relevant. And then there's you. So I got one pick. I got one genuine pick. So this was my one genuine pick. This is, of course, Star Trek Next Generation. This is the episode Family. It aired on October 1st, 1990. This, of course, followed the Best of Both Worlds Part 2. And this is Season 4, Episode 2. And I love this episode for a lot of different reasons. But we learn a lot about Picard's family.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of his upbringing. This is the first time we get the introduction of that his family has a history where they've been keeping, the art of winemaking alive, and how much
Picard.
Yeah, and how much tradition is important, for his family in general, specifically his brother. And it gives us a lot of insight into his family life, but more importantly, too, we see the toll that Picard being turned into a Borg and becoming Locutus and Best of Both Worlds Part 1. We see the toll that, the battle at Wolf 359 and everything has taken on him. And how, fight as much as he could, he was fighting, something that at the end eventually beat him almost, And we also see, too, the importance that Data is one of those pivotal characters. They come back for him, and David is pivotal in bringing him back from staying aboard. If it hadn't been for Data, Picard may not have come back at all.
You could argue that not only that Earth would have been assimilated. So
yeah. So
because there was nobody left. There was nobody left. So
right. So that's the reason I picked this episode. I felt like it's very, very important for Picard's journey and his story, and also too that it's the begin. We know that Data and Picard share a special connection, but this just reinforces that even further, and builds upon that friendship and that bond that we see like in Measure of a Man. You know what I mean? It just builds upon it. And so that's why I picked this particular. This is the one episode that I genuinely picked. This episode, I stayed away from, kind of the more obvious Borg choices, at least in the beginning, because I felt like everyone else is talking about that, and I feel like his family is terribly, terribly relevant. I think for what we're going to see in Picard.
Oh, I agree. Obviously, we're going to start at Chateau Picard, right? So he's going back clearly, Picard, we have that precedent, right? That Picard goes back home to heal, right? And we know that
Yeah.
there's something that happened to get Picard out of Starfleet, that something bad happened, that he didn't leave on good terms. And so it makes sense. He goes back to the Chateau Picard to heal like he did in this episode. The big difference, though, is his big brother's not there to help him anymore. So
Right.
I'm kind of wondering how that's going to factor. And I always was kind of a little upset that they killed off his family in Generations, because I felt that there was a lot more that could have been done with the Picard family and also with his nephew. I would like to have seen his nephew in Picard, but he's dead. It would have been nice if he was, we could have Picard and his nephew running around. You know what I mean? And also you can kind of pass the torch real easy that way, because now you have a new character that's not so new. You know what I mean? Because we've seen him before, and he has the Picard name. You know what I mean? That would have been cool. I've always kind of lamented that Generations they killed off Picard's family.
And I thought that was weird.
Yeah,
I never understood why they did that. So.
And I'd like to give another minor spoiler. You do find out what happened between Picard and Starfleet in the first episode.
That's good. Yeah, we definitely need to get that out of the way. Like, I think right away. You know what I mean? That's something that I definitely want to know right off the bat.
And there's cursing.
There's cursing.
There's cursing. Someone actually tells Picard to F off.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Wow, that's crazy. That is just crazy to me. And I heard your podcast, so I was aware of that as well. But man, that to me is just crazy. It's just crazy. But we'll see the context, right, in the show.
Yes.
So
yeah.
So we're going to segue into my next choice. I was looking for something that if you're trying to cram and get as much information in as you could, and I also looked at these last two choices. I was looking for things where you wouldn't have to have CBS All Access or Netflix, or like an easier way for people to just kind of easily see these. So my next two choices, I have wonderful news. You can watch them both on Crackle. For some strange reason, you can't see these next two choices on CBS All Access, but
really,
you can see them on Crackle for free. Why is that?
That's kind of cool, though. That's kind of cool because Crackle is free, so that's kind of neat in a way.
And to even further emphasize the strangeness of this, at the time that I checked, you couldn't even rent these things on Amazon and watch them. So Crackle, that's where you got to go. Now, this may have changed because, like I said, they turned Justified off Amazon with no fanfare real quick. But at the time that I reviewed these, the only places you could actually watch these next two choices, unless you own it on Blu-ray or DVD, or you previously bought it as a digital download, and you could probably still buy it as a digital download, is actually on Crackle. So this next choice, this is obviously Star Trek First Contact. This is one of the better of the next-gen movies, in my personal opinion. But this fills in a lot of information, and I feel like it compacts a lot of the stuff with the Borg. And in a weird way, actually, having rewatched Best of Both Worlds 1 and 2, rewatched them. Part of the reason I picked this one is because I feel like this focuses more on Picard than Best of Both Worlds, especially Part 1 does. Because Part 1 really focuses a lot more on Riker and the rivalry he has with Commander Shelby. And I was like, well, as a Picard choice, I don't know. A lot of people are going to pick this one because you see him turned into a Borg. But I feel like you get a lot of the same information in terms of the struggle and his feelings about having been turned into a Borg. Again, I feel like you get a lot of that in First Contact. Plus, it's a fun movie. It's got a lot of action. You also get a lot more of the hierarchy of the Borg, the introduction of the Borg Queen. I just felt like that this is a good choice, especially if you're cramming for Picard. You could watch this one and it'll catch up pretty quick. So
yeah, I think this is one of the tops on every list that I've seen, because I've seen a lot of top 10 lists of what you need to see, before you watch Picard. I think this is on the top of many of those lists.
Wait. Can you do that hand movement again?
This one?
No, and then down. Yeah,
Down.
I love that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Oh my God, guys. Okay, get this. No, I'm sorry.
So no, but I felt like that this catches you up on the board, what they're trying to do. I feel like it focuses more on Picard than Best of Both Worlds does, at least the first episode for sure. And it just, and you again, one of the things I like about this too is you get to sense Picard's emotional state and how he really felt about it. You know, that monologue with the one character is, well, I guess Captain Ahab has to go, catch his whale, and Picard rails against that, and then eventually sees the reason in it. You see him emotional. He's like, "This is the line here, no farther," and he's very emotional and very intense. But at the same point too, you see logic and reason winning out, and him realizing what the better choice, the better decision is. That's one of the things that made him a great captain. That's one of the things I hope that we don't lose in this show. That's one of my fears. No, I felt
But you
like
also see him lose it a little bit too. Remember, you
Yeah,
see him
exactly.
like he actually calls Worf a coward. Because he basically Picard is like sending all of his crew to their deaths because he's like, we're not letting the Borg take this ship, even though they're taking the ship. He actually calls Worf a coward at one point. He really becomes like unhinged. In a lot of this movie.
Yeah, and I feel like it's important because when you look at family and you look at this, you see a broad swath of emotion of Picard, and you get a good sense that he's a very complex character. He's not the one-dimensional captain that sometimes he's portrayed as, and he doesn't always make the logical decision. And I felt like that was important. So in Family and First Contact, we see a lot of his struggles with the Borg, and we get a sense of how he felt about being turned into essentially a weapon, and a weapon of mass destruction, no less. So I felt like that's why I picked these two. But I feel like this one's definitely required. Then we'll segue on to my third choice, the one I wished I didn't have to pick. But you really got to kind of watch this one because it's so incredibly relevant. You can't get away from it. I have a lot of issues with this movie. I don't hate this movie. This is not Star Trek V: The Final Frontier by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of things I like about this film. I quite like Tom Hardy as an actor. I enjoyed his kind of banter back and forth with Patrick Stewart. And there's a lot of things about this I like. I love the opening scene where it's the reception after the wedding, and one of the things I like about Nemesis, and one of the things I think makes this a great choice, is you get a very good sense of family, and how much Picard loves his command crew, and how connected and important they are. And again, it reinforces that connection with Data. Yeah, and we get to see the scene with the Argo is kind of fun because we see a different aspect of Picard. He's enjoying what he's doing, and he loves being out and having an adventure, and he is adventurous, and that's sometimes an aspect that we don't always see with Picard in Next Gen. So I felt like that this is a great choice for a lot of those reasons. The obvious story beat was the fact that, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Nemesis, turn this off, go to Crackle, watch First Contact and Nemesis right now, because it will catch you up for Picard. But spoiler alert for those people who haven't seen Nemesis, but obviously Data dies. And obviously that's going to have a huge impact and a huge significance. That's one of the reasons I feel like that this film is a bit of a bummer to leave Next Gen, because you even see, like, one of the last scenes you see is Picard, and you just see the weight of the fact that Data's gone. And you sense that in him. And that's where it ends. And they start up the swell of the Star Trek Next Gen fanfare, which of course comes from the motion picture. I'm not going to stop pointing that out. But they start that swell of the theme, and they're trying to leave you on a happy note. But there is no Search for Data movie that comes after this. There is no Voyage Home. It's just left there. And that's a dark place to leave Next Gen. And I think that's part of the reason this film, I know among my friends, a lot of my friends, not all of them, but among a lot of my friends, they don't care for Nemesis, because it's sort of like, it doesn't even have an uplifting moment where at the end of Wrath of Khan they say, he's really not dead as long as you remember. It doesn't even have that moment. It's just kind of Picard, just sort of like, this sucks, then
I
credit.
thought that's what B4 was supposed to be. That hopeful,
Yeah. They had the thing with B4 where he's singing, right? And he's singing the tune that
right.
Data was singing before, and they show that kind of connection.
Yeah, and he supposedly has all of his memories and all of his knowledge and everything.
Right. But, and here's the thing. One of the things I love about the Countdown comic that actually led into the first J.J. Abrams film, that was actually called Countdown. That has not escaped either Eric or my notice, that both of these comic book lead-ins lead into the first of I think it was a 2009 Star Trek movie. It's a comic book tie-in. It's called Countdown. And then we got one leading into Picard. But it's rather... One of the things that I loved about that was the fact that we see Data as a captain. He's the new captain of the Enterprise. And it is B4 with Data's memories to the forefront. So essentially Data is back. I love that idea. So one of the things that I'm not too terribly thrilled is I hate the idea that Data is really dead. And if you watch Nemesis, they do have the scene with B4, but kind of the last thing you see is Picard not too terribly thrilled.
That's why they stuck him in a drawer.
Yeah.
That's what you do with stuff you don't want to deal with anymore. You stick it in a drawer.
Yeah.
It is interesting. You touched on the two countdowns because, Heather, we've actually been reviewing the new Picard Countdown comic book. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard about it, but I haven't read it. So
there's been 2 issues that have come out. We've actually reviewed it on this show. It's a pretty interesting premise. There's some weird things going on in there. It's a prequel to Picard, but it's very obvious because they use the same name as the previous Countdown comic book, which was supposed to bridge Kelvin and Next Gen. That was basically what the purpose of the original Countdown comic was to connect Next Gen to Kelvin, to show us exactly where the new universe is created and what the status of the Prime universe was up to that point, which we're still going with that. We're still going, obviously, with Picard. We still have the destruction of Romulus.
Right. So Picard is in the Prime timeline.
But this new Countdown comic book is clearly meant to subvert the previous Countdown comic book. It's even the same name. It's a totally different story. Data's not in it. You know what I mean? It's like it's obviously meant to replace the previous Countdown comic book.
So are you saying there were 2 Countdown comic books? One was in the Prime universe or timeline, and one was in the other timeline, the Kelvin timeline?
Well, technically, I guess they would both be considered in the Prime timeline.
Yeah, technically.
But the previous one was a bridge. It was meant to show you what the Next Gen people were doing when Spock was trying to rescue Romulus.
Okay.
It showed you what they were doing.
And it showed the role that they actually played, because they were actually part of the group that was kind of helping Spock. In a sense, if you look at it and you look at Picard, the Admiral Picard, concept or idea that we're getting, the Enterprise would be part of the rescue fleet, and Data would be the captain of the Enterprise. That when we saw the very first trailer, we first talked about it, Eric, you remember, that's one of the things I was hoping that we would get to see. Is even if it was a brief cameo, use the de-aging technology. Let's see Data as the new captain of the Enterprise, and then Picard can go off on his pirate ship with his crew and do whatever they got to do. But we know for a fact that Data is gone, so it literally contradicts the Countdown comic book that led into the Kelvin timeline. So obviously the Kelvin timeline affected this, and this isn't necessarily the Prime timeline anymore. This is an offshoot, possibly, of the Kelvin timeline, especially if it ties into Discovery. So, I
will say I am interested also, though, with Nemesis and specifically B4. Why did they disassemble him and put him in the drawer?
They were sick of him. He wouldn't work the way he was supposed to. I mean, the batteries, it just wouldn't charge the way it used to.
He's defective.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, it's kind of sad, because it's kind of like, well, B4 wasn't the replacement for Data, so yeah, let's stick him in a drawer.
So does that mean every time like whoever's listening to this, whenever they open the drawer, they're going to be sad because they're going to think of Data?
Yeah, I can see that, right? It's going to bring back bad memories. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no blue skies do I see. But no, I mean, I'm rewatching Nemesis because I haven't seen it for quite some time. I was just kind of shocked, and that's all I could think of. And all I could think of is like, where is the Search for Data movie? Like where is it? Like, where is the Voyage Home? Because, if they could have left Star Trek where they left it at Wrath of Khan. They could have left it. Some people would say, by how they keep trying to remake Wrath of Khan, that they never stopped leaving it there. But it's just one of those things that I was kind of stunned by. It's like, yeah, we never really kind of rescued Data. He really did die, and that's a very, very dark place. So they have a very interesting jumping off point for Picard, because Picard has referenced Logan and talks about how Logan was, kind of a great send-off for Wolverine, and kind of how it subverted your expectations of what you thought would happen in the X-Men universe, but it's still a great film. So it gives them a very interesting place to start, because in Logan, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Logan, which I don't know why you haven't watched it, Eric, but anyhow, spoiler alert for Logan. But we find out all these horrible things that happen to the X-Men, and why we find Professor X and Logan / Wolverine and Caliban in the place that they're in. So Star Trek, if you want to start it off on a downbeat and kind of tell a Logan-esque story within Star Trek, they've got a huge, great downer beat to start on, because Data is, in fact, actually dead.
Well, they have, Patrick Stewart has said that one of the reasons that he decided to come back, one of the reasons we're getting Picard, is because he felt that he wanted to kind of, he didn't want to leave on Nemesis. That's so, in a very real way, Nemesis really is the reason for Star Trek Picard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he kind of agrees with you that basically he's like, I kind of didn't want to leave on that note. So he said that was one of the things that made it appealing for him to come back to the role, because if Nemesis was sort of better, then maybe there would be no Star Trek Picard. See what I'm saying? If Patrick Stewart really felt the closure and really felt that it was done right, he wouldn't be doing Picard.
That's pretty hard, though. I mean, nowadays, I think I'm pretty spoiled, because a 1 hour episode is normal. Whereas you look in a movie, it's just 2 hours. That's like no time at all. So how can you get a whole full story, beginning, middle, and plus closure of an entire series? It's just very difficult to do.
Yeah,
it is.
It is. And it was just such a weird choice to. I mean, I get financially, if the film didn't do well, they just left it, But at the same point, too, it is a weird place to leave Next Gen, where this film kind of leaves off. It's, but literally, seriously, I can't stop thinking about that. It's like, where's my Search for Data movie?
Well, there's a lot of fans that hate Nemesis, and they hate Nemesis specifically because they kill Data. And they can't process that. I mean, it's like traumatic for some fans. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, Data was their favorite character on Next Gen. It wasn't Picard. I've talked to lots of fans that Data is their favorite Next Gen character and their favorite Star Trek character. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it was really, really tough for a lot of them. It's a lot of fans that never got over it. Like I said, a lot of fans hate this movie. I mean, they absolutely hate it. I'm not one of them, by the way. I actually enjoy it a lot more than other people. I think it's way better than Insurrection, in my personal opinion. But a lot of people hate this movie. I mean, they absolutely hate it.
Yeah, and I it's, for me, I mean, I don't hate the film. Like I said, it's one of the, in my mind, it's not the bottom of the barrel of Star Trek films. It's just this film has some questionable choices in it. You know, we were texting back and forth, Eric, and I was bringing up my I don't like the whole thing with Troy. You know, I don't understand why you have to do that. And I thought it was really weird that we leave off on the next gen movie with essentially a weird, for lack of a better term to describe it, psychic rape scene. And then Star Trek 6 has a weird psychic rape scene. You know, why? You know, 'cause sometimes, you know, you've got that winning
That's true.
formula.
That's true. Yeah.
You get that winning formula, and you got to put all the pieces in there because that's the magic sauce that makes the hamburger great, you know. But at the same point too, it's like that's not part of the winning formula. That's just a weird choice that they made for Star Trek 6. You don't have to put that in the last of next gen movies just because they did it in Star Trek. Well, the last one had it. Let's put that in there. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's
It is
just
a controversial scene. I've heard Marina Sirtis say that she hated that. So yeah.
And
It's
that's a
controversial
horrible.
scene, sure.
That's a horrible place to leave her character off too. I mean, I know she gets revenge.
Well, she does get back though. I mean, she's instrumental in actually, you know, actually locating the ship. You know, because it's cloaked and everything. So
That's why you don't piss off a Betazoid. Not
There
get
you
to
go.
piss off a Betazoid.
I mean, she gets a little. She gets back at him. You know.
I know, but it leaves Riker, and because we start off with the wedding reception, and then when we leave this movie, I mean, I know that Troy is recovered and she'll be better, and her and Riker will be okay, but that leaves their relationship in a weird place. You know, that's what I'm talking about. It's just this film, while it's necessary and it's important, and you can watch it for free on Crackle. It's just a weird place to leave next gen. It just really is. And rewatching it was even more kind of stunning because at the same time that Nemesis was in theaters, we had other Star Trek on TV. So, you know, you could go experience more Star Trek. You weren't limited just to Nemesis. But it was just kind of weird. It was just kind of weird. I remember I didn't like it in the movie theater, and I'd seen it one other time before with someone, and then I watched it again. So I've only seen this movie about 3 times, which is rare for me because normally I watch everything like 50 or 60 times. But it was just rewatching it. I found myself having the same thoughts. It's just such a weird place to leave the next gen characters in a sense. It's just a weird, I don't know. It's just a downer. It's just a downer.
Yeah, well, again, I think Patrick Stewart agrees with you, and that is why we're getting Star Trek Picard. The big reason why we're getting Star Trek Picard.
Cool. So that's it for my my whole Picard thing.